Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of The Outpost Unknown, where we are going to be talking to the cast and the crew of Dream Thief's latest production, the Collector's Edition. I'm here with, like I said, cast and crew. We're going to get to know them. We're going to get to hear all about the behind the scenes, the making of the film, hopefully a little trolling of our director, all that good stuff. So let's get into it, starting with, I would love for everybody to introduce themselves, starting with you, Matthew. Tell us about who you are and what your role was on this film.
Hello, I'm Matthew. I'm friends with all these people, and my role was to get them all in a location to make a movie. I don't direct, I just kind of bring people together and let it all happen.
Nicole, how about you?
Hi, I'm Nicole. I acted in this production and then kind of also supplied some supplemental dialogue to when we were workshopping the script. And I'm friends with all these people.
Awesome. Hey, that's a good sign that so far two of you have said you're still friends at the end of this production. All right. How about you, Josh? Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm friends with most of these people, DJ, and I pretty much just put lights where DJ told me to put them. That was my role. It was a good time.
You also supplied some essential audio, I understand.
Oh, yeah, I did that, and I wrote a couple lines of dialogue that Matt cut. So, I mean, overall, I was essential.
Also an essential prop, too, Josh. You brought that essential prop.
Oh, yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Oh, are we going to... Oh, we're going to need to talk. I need to talk about this.
VCR.
I'll be reminded.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The sacred VCR. Jasmine and Will, please introduce yourselves.
Yes. So I'm Jasmine. I played Jasmine in the short film. I am friends with none of these people. Don't even know who they are. Just kidding. I'm friends with all these people. And I also assisted with writing, well, kind of the idea a little bit, and then also dialogue, and things like that.
I'm Will, and I was the great eye plucker in the movie.
Okay, I love it. Now, did you also have a role in the writing and in the story?
A little bit at the beginning, I was a part of the, I guess, brain trust that started coming up with concepts and ideas. I don't remember exactly what I brought to the table at that point. It's been a long time since we had that discussion. I hope something that I said made it awesome and better, but I honestly can't remember what ideas I brought to the table.
It made it better, but I cut it. I cut it out of the movie.
Oh, there you go.
I feel like a theme is already starting to develop in this round. Well, someone who often gets things cut and ends up on the cutting room floor, DJ, introduce yourself.
Actually, a few of my shots made it into this film, surprisingly. So, success, I guess. I'm DJ. I do all the stuff that Matt doesn't do. So between Matt and I, the team is pretty much us. And then also all you guys who help us. So actually, we're the whole team. Never mind. Disregard the last bit.
Okay, well, Heather, when DJ is not doing your job for you, what do you do on the production?
I get people bloody. Bloody and messy. I provide props and effects and makeup and hair when I can, and costumes, pretty much just whatever Matt says to do, I do.
And chocolate chip
Love
cookies.
it. I
Don't
love
forget
it.
that.
And finally,
Oh, yes, cookies. I always have to keep him, stocked with chocolate chip cookies.
oh, nice. We love a little bribery. That's great, especially bribery with carbohydrates.
I just know him.
And finally, Jenny, introduce yourself and tell us about your part in this.
Hi, yeah, I'm Jenny. I'm friends with all these people. I feel like we've been through so many things over the years. I play Rowea, who is like a genie who's also a host. And also, I think this is the only movie I've ever been in where I didn't die. So I feel like I did a good job. No.
I love
Right,
it.
and I have a dog that won't relax, so he is on my lap now and just had to be a part of it. So
Yeah, we're going to need to know the dog's name because now I'm obsessed.
This is Gordy.
Gordy. Star of the show. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about Collector's Edition, which is why we're here today. My first question is for Matthew and Josh, and I guess a little bit Will, but maybe not. I think we should set the stage by talking about how the film sort of came about. Tell us the story about how this came to be, and how each of you got involved with the writing of the project.
Yeah, I'll start, Josh, because I actually give Josh a lot of credit, pretty much all the credit for the idea behind this. We went and saw a mystery movie together, and it ended up being a movie called Babes, which was the only movie I've ever walked out of in my life. And we walked out of this movie in like 20 minutes, and we walked over to, I think it was like Firehouse Subs to get dinner or something. And we had previously, all of us had been working on a film called Nine Black Roses, which I know, Rachel, you are aware of. We'd been working on it for like 2 years, and we had planned to film some scenes from that film. On the weekend, we ultimately shot Collector's Edition, but for various reasons, that all kind of fell apart. We were all kind of bummed out about it. And then, of course, I think I'm at Firehouse Sub, stuffed in my face. I'm just bitching to Josh about how, the drama of what happened with all of that. And Josh, he's like, everybody's got that weekend off. Why don't we just film something anyway and just create a short film? And I was like, it hadn't even really occurred to me. Honestly, I hadn't even thought about that. I was like, well, yeah. Why don't we do something? And so, yeah, and Josh, you can kind of take it over from there. And then we just started kind of, how I remember it, we kind of started workshopping some basic ideas, and then we got the team on board because we didn't have an idea. It was literally like 3 weeks away or something that we were supposed to film. And so we had like nothing to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where everybody else got to chime in. I think you sent a message out to the group saying, hey, just because this project is kind of falling through at the moment doesn't mean we can't do something. So you kind of messaged out to the group, I think, letting everybody know that if that weekend was still available, let's do anything. And I think everybody at that point kind of chimed in and got together and started pitching ideas and throwing things out. I originally at Firehouse had talked about bringing back another anthology project that you had been working on and trying to do some of those. But initially, I think you just wanted to do something original with everybody, which was totally cool. Look, I'm just like a really big cheerleader for everybody here. And I am, in a way, was kind of selfish because I've never been on a Dead Lantern set. And I just wanted to be on set with Dead Lantern. So I didn't care what we did. I just wanted to do something. So that was really my, my take on how it kind of came around.
Love it. And then in terms of coming up with the concept of the story, now, Will, I know you say you don't remember, but I would love to hear maybe, Matthew, if you remember how Will came into this in terms of
help me
the
out.
story and the way that you guys went with that.
Okay, so this is actually kind of funny that you mentioned this, Rachel, because Josh and I were talking the other day, and we couldn't even remember how all this really started. I know that we had a conference call, and the reason why is I really respect Will's opinion on stuff. And so, I wanted him to be part of the conversation. And again, that first thing was just, hey, pitching out different ideas. And I think, and anyone who was on that initial call can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Will's main contribution to it was sort of pushing it towards more of a sort of comedic realm rather than kind of like a serious thing. Because Nine Black Roses is a very serious movie. Like that's where our headspace was, to make something really serious and dramatic. And then Will started throwing out some potential ideas for kind of more humorous sort of things. And I think that's just kind of springboarded our creativity. And I think the ultimate, I know Nicole was you were part of that call too, I believe. There was a bunch of us part of the call. And essentially everybody had some great ideas. And then I just kind of took some and wrote a script and passed it over to everybody and, tweaked it based on, things that they liked and they didn't like. And that's my recollection of kind of how it came about.
I remember Matt also asking people, hey, what kind of character do you want to play? And Nicole had brought up, I want to play this kind of character, and Jasmine was like, I want to play myself. And
Yeah, Jasmine is herself. in it.
No, I said I wanted to play something that I've never done before. And what did I do? I played into my typecast.
No, you played yourself.
That's the exact same
Um,
character that I always have.
But I remember, yeah, that's kind of how some of the characters were born too. Was like, hey, what does everybody? If you've never played a character before, what do you want to do? And give everybody an opportunity to do something they've never done before. So I remember that conversation happening as well.
And I think the initial conversation too, I think was between Matthew and myself. I think he called me because we were kind of
On the phone?
messaging back and forth about ideas. Yeah, I think you called me on the phone, and then
Yeah, you did.
yeah, we were talking about stuff, and then Will kept chiming in.
Oh, that's right.
Because he
That's
was
right.
he was on the couch.
That's what
Yeah,
happened.
and he was like, "No, you should do this or you should do that," and then
Yeah, that's
because I
right.
had you on speaker, and then, yeah, and then you were like, "Well, what ideas is Will saying?" And then all three of us were kind of like talking about some stuff because the collector's idea is where I remember his contribution the most
Yeah,
was
you're
because
right.
we were talking about
Yeah.
an idea where the Tony's character had all these different collectibles, and we were thinking like on a game level, like how to make this kind of like a game
Yeah.
for the short film, and that pieces like spirits were in the collectibles.
I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of stuff, and yeah,
So-
I had completely forgotten that
Bunch of-
conversation.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I just want to throw a big shout out
As
to
you do.
Tony, because Tony, we had to put this thing together in 3 weeks, and he let us have his house the entire weekend. And he even produced it so that we could get effects stuff and things like that. So he couldn't be here on the call today, but this would not have happened had Tony not graciously, basically last minute said, yeah, come live in my house for the weekend. That's fine. Do whatever you need to do. So big shout out to him as well. And yeah, he did have all the collectibles everywhere. He's got amazing collectibles everywhere. And we were like, oh yeah, then the Airbnb concept came in. What if it was an Airbnb and what could happen there? So yeah.
I love it. I mean, and it's great sort of production value because he looks like someone who would have his collection looks like it might have some Scream Queens trapped in it. So that's perfect. So, okay, I want to talk to the actors a little bit. Nicole and Jenny, I'd love to know I hear now that you kind of joined the cast as a result of another project kind of coming apart essentially. And I think that that's something that happens at every level of Hollywood, right? Sometimes projects just, they don't go. So I'm curious for you, how you were feeling and how quickly you signed on when Matthew approached you about this new project.
Well, I know for me, I had done about 9 months of auditioning for
Oh,
9
God.
Black Roses
Oh.
before I had booked the role. I'm so serious. 9 full months of auditions.
Damn.
And I really, really wanted that part. I was so stoked to get it. I was so stoked to be doing pre-production stuff for it. Matthew and I worked a lot on stuff with the character in that, and so I was really, really heartbroken when that project didn't, kind of get to happen. But I was also really excited when Matthew approached us all about still using that weekend to create something, especially because I've done a lot of feature work here in Nebraska, but I haven't done a lot of short form, and I really wanted to break out into more short film type of work where you can just go and have a fun 3-day weekend and put something together and it turns out so awesome. I had also told Matthew I really wanted to play a villain. I'd never really played a villain before. And specifically, I wanted to play one that seems really, really innocent the whole time until, there's that big reveal at the end where it's like, oh, shit, she was bad. So, yeah, I think, our main goal with this project was we just wanted to have a good time, not really take away from the stress of life and from that past project, and just do something fun.
Love it. And how about you, Jenny? How quickly did you join up, or
Um,
were you originally a part of the Black Roses as well? The Nine Black Roses.
I just helped doing script read throughs. I really loved the script, but I wasn't signed on to do anything that I know of with it.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, Jenny.
I never know what's going on, but I'm also like, I don't check Facebook or Messenger, so it's like I miss out on a lot of stuff because I just don't check. I'm just not a Facebook person. But anyhow, yeah, I had recently filmed a short film called Orlock and had a blast and had been having a really bad summer. I won't go into details, but I was like, okay, I could stay at home or be depressed and wallow, or I could go to Omaha for the day and be around some friends. And, so that's why I ended up going with. I also wasn't quite understanding when I read the script until I watched an Elvira clip. And then I was like, oh, okay, so she's a genie and a host, and okay, I get it. So I was like, okay, this will be fun.
I love it. I love it. And Elvira is a great reference to start from.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Jasmine, now, if there is any actor who is sort of someone who I associate with a Dream Thief or a Dead Lantern production, it is you. You have been to so many of them. Like, you are kind of the scream queen of this particular studio. I'm curious though, you kind of went into retirement and you came out of retirement for this role. What was it about this that made you go like, all right, I'm retiring from retiring?
Yes. Well, I think kind of what Nicole was saying too. I was with production for Nine Black Roses, and I was the casting director. And Matthew and I spent so much time and effort into casting those roles. I mean, we just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos, and we had spreadsheets, and watching those videos, we got more that weren't super great than
not everyone can be Nicole.
Yep. But I also was watching them and I'm like, good for those people. Like, good for those people for getting out there and just like doing it, and it kind of sparked a little thing in me of, it was something I loved acting. It was a huge part of my life. And I was just kind of thinking like, I kind of miss it. We would do script reads together and I enjoyed it. But I didn't feel ready to be like on screen again. But then when we decided to do this, I did just really want a weekend to have fun with everyone because we had gone through so much stuff together. And I mean, I haven't seen these guys in a long time. And so I can't remember. I think I told Matthew, I said, if you need someone to counter Nicole, I will do that.
I took you up immediately. I was like, you're cast. Absolutely. You got the role. Congratulations. I wasn't going to pass up that opportunity.
Yes. So that was my big thing, was I just love these guys so much that I really missed all of the projects that we did together. We always had so much fun. Even though I got hurt on like every single project that we did together. But yeah, I really miss it. And the crew made it. Like that's why I came out of retirement, is for these guys.
I love it. I mean, I would have one look at the hot pink jumpsuit and I would have come out of retirement. That is an incredible. Did you keep it? Are you rocking it on the regular?
I did keep it. Yep, and I kept my the white coat. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think Matthew hated my outfit.
Yep.
Because him and he hates my outfits. He hates every single outfit that I have worn on his sets.
100%.
And we went back and forth with like what my character was going to be, because again, coming into this, I was like, I really want to do something like that. I'm usually the ditzy blonde, or like the bitch, or, all these different things. I just want to be something like not that. But then as we then as we kept talking and kept doing dialogue and ideas, and then like the outfit, I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna own it. It's gonna be the same thing.
Well, I kind of live for the jumpsuit. So what is your problem, Matthew? What do you have against the
No.
jumpsuit?
Okay, here, I have told everybody on every single production, I was like, look, I am very picky with fashion. Usually I let the actors just pick whatever you want to wear. And if I hate it, I just go with it, because what am I going to do? No, I hate it. Go get something else. So yeah, I'm very vocal. Jasmine knows, like, if I don't like something, I just straight up say it. And no, I hate it. I think it's ugly. I think it's horribly ugly, but it works and everyone else likes it. So that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Don't listen to Matthew. He won't even come in the light. What does he know about fashion? So, okay, well, speaking of the aesthetics of the film, while you are not on camera, Heather, you are in so many of the essential frames of every film that they've done, at least in recent years. I'm curious for you. What is it like to take one of Matthew's grandiose ideas and filter it through a micro budget?
Well, so this one was kind of fun because the first thing he did was he messaged me and said, "What are some of the things that like freak me out or things that I want to do?" And so I was like, "Well, I have a big fear of having my hands like mangled up or something happening to my eyes or things like that, because you kind of need those things to be an artist, right?" So that's where we got the blender in. First, I had said about I have this irrational fear of sticking my hand into the sink and the garbage disposal starting, and so that was the start of it. Then we changed it over to like a blender, and then one of them that we pulled out from previous filming was the cheese grater, because that one was like the favorite effect I did of the beginning of my whole career with this, and I've only been doing this for about 12 years now, I think. So it's a lot of learning along the way, but that was like the one effect that just turned out exactly the way that I expected. So I was like, I'd love to do that one again just because it's fun. So we just kind of picked out little things that would be something to do that was either fun or easy. All of these were really easy effects to be able to do. And a lot of the times when we do a script, there'll be a lot of crazy effects, and then my eyes get the size of saucers, and then I think, okay, we can figure out how to do this. And so that's kind of my contribution is maybe being toxically optimistic that we can get something done with barely any money. But
this one was also constrained as well because there's so many high value collectibles in Tony's house. We did not want to get blood anywhere, so it was like, what can we do to still show some blood that's not going to spray all over the place and get Josh in trouble because we'd blame him for it. So
yeah, right. And that's usually one of the biggest constraints we have is location. So it's like, if we have some grandiose effect, and then it's like, but you can't get blood anywhere. So then it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? Well, what if I do this? What if I tube it this way? Well, what if I don't do a tube at all? So yeah, that's usually like the biggest factor of scaling things back is the location.
I gotta say that almost sounds like there's a story there, like a story to be written about this special effects makeup artist that's like has these ideas for these grandiose things. It's like, oh, but you can't make a mess. And so maybe there's like plastic wrap. I'm just picturing it in my head. It sounds so funny.
Matt's used plastic wrap before, so
next project.
I also have this weird thing where I just like all my friends to die in my movies. I just love watching them get killed in various ways. So always write that in somewhere.
That's love. That's friendship right there. Were there any effects or ideas that you had for this film that you weren't able to do because of these constraints? Was there anything that you had to that you were excited about and then kind of had to cut out?
No, I mean, we pretty much did everything that we talked about. The only thing we scaled back on was not using the garbage disposal, because how would we logistically tube that without messing up Tony's kitchen? So we just had everything pretty confined with the blender running the tube down Jasmine's arm. And so she controlled it when she stuck her arm in. She would just move her hand around to get that blood to kind of squirt all over inside of that container. There's the scene where she gets the coffee splashed on her face, but that's done outside, so we don't have to worry about getting anything inside the house. And then the cheese grater scene was just we placed a generous amount of blood inside the grater, so then when she would grate, then it would kind of ooze out of it. And we had a plate that was protecting us, from getting anything on his. I think was it his mother's table. I think it's his mother's table. That was it's a very old table handed down through family, so it's like do not get blood on this table. So we made sure we protected everything with paper towels everywhere. So yeah, I don't think there was anything that we didn't do that we planned on.
I love that. So table, VCR, the two most important things to protect in the house. I love it. So speaking of things that did get cut, or maybe not, DJ, there's one. I watched both the short and I watched the behind the scenes, which looked so much fun. It just looked like such a fun production. But there is this funny moment where you are filming a DJ shot that you're like, it'll be cut. I'm curious if when you saw the film back, if there were anything that you were excited to see or proud to see make the final cut that had made it through the gauntlet of Matthew's editing.
I think there were like 2 or 3 shots, and Matt can speak to this. One of them, I don't think he knew it was mine, so it made it in right away, and then later on realized it was one of mine. The other ones, I think I just got lucky and had the only shot available. There's a couple of times where there's like a technical shot, like we needed to do a plate or something for that whole VHS spin situation, where Matt gives me free reign and I set those up and go. But generally, there can only be one leader on a production, and so Matt is it. So I default to him.
See, what happens is DJ will frame it, but it'll just be a centimeter off from what I would have done. So I just slightly move the camera, or I just use it. Or what I'll do is, since we shoot in 4K and we just export to 1080, I can just take any shot and make it as many different shots as I want. And so, yeah. But I told him when we were editing, I was like, hey, look, this shot looking up at the girls in the hallway down, that was a DJ shot. I wasn't trying to hide it. Congratulations, DJ. You got a shot in.
That's fine. All my work is that secret stuff that no one will ever notice except for
this
Matt.
Is true.
So,
like
when you guys hear like a really cool thing in the background or like something pops, that's usually us sitting there for an hour or two trying to find the perfect sound combination or the first video editing situation.
That's a big thing because a lot of these films, I mean, DJ is the man behind all of this stuff on the technical level, right? In post-production, when we're trying to get all the sound mixing just right or make, the VHS tape start glowing. I'm like, make it glow, DJ. And he's like, what are you talking about? And we were sitting there trying to figure all this stuff out on the fly. A lot of it, none of it would happen if he wasn't there to do it. So he gets a lot of credit in terms of how it all looks and sounds and stuff. And again, it's a thankless job because no one pays any attention to it, right? But we put a lot of time, energy, and effort to try to make it as good as we possibly can in the time constraints that we have available to us.
I love it. I mean, I do appreciate how collaborative this process is, whether it is things like bringing in the infamous DJ shots or how the ideas sort of came together and coalesced from every element of the film. When I was watching it, I was kind of thinking about it thematically, and I can see a lot of like EC influence, which I know is something that is near and dear to your heart, Matthew. And this is where I'm just going to briefly put my tinfoil hat on because this is how I always watch movies. But I also kind of felt like there was some level of critique about the commodification of Scream Queens in particular. And I'm curious if for each of you, if that's something that you read into it was as Scream Queens yourselves or as writers, if there was some intentionality around those kinds of ideas in this film.
Writing wise, I think there was. It wasn't like in the forefront, like, ooh, I'm trying to critique any of this stuff. This is a good question for Jasmine and Jenny because they have, Jenny, you've been doing Scream Queen stuff in Nebraska forever. Like, because I remember even back in the day, way back in the day, I was like, oh, Jenny Caroline. Yeah, she's in all these horror movies in Nebraska and stuff like that. But yeah, so for me personally, writing it wasn't like a conscious thing where I'm just like, oh, I want to make a critique of this. But I think something of that was there. He's got this hallway just filled with pictures of autographed scantily clad scream queens on his wall, and every horror fan has their favorite scream queen and stuff like that. And how do we visualize those individuals on film, and potentially objectify them in certain ways and things of that nature. So it's an interesting question. I'd throw that to Jenny and Jasmine. Did you guys just as actors here in the Nebraska scene that's been in a lot of horror films and cast because you're beautiful starlets who like to die on camera, did you guys get anything like that from the film?
I think like when I was acting in it and reading it, I didn't get any of that. But now that you throw that question out, I do kind of think, I played it as myself, obviously, but I also did kind of play it into the, used to be doing a bunch of things and a lot of projects, and I would have people reach out to me, and not necessarily like fandom, but I would have some people reach out to me, and then kind of just like taking a break, but then getting back into it, and you're older, you look completely different, you're a different person. So I do think now that you've mentioned it, I would say that there probably is some of that where kind of making fun of the scream queen of, she was the it girl and she's still trying to kind of chase that attention, but she's doing like horror, like horror movies. You just have this fandom that is what is it actually,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was a good point that you made, Rachel.
Oh, well, how about you, Jenny? Do you kind of resonate with, on one level, it's this fun sort of, like I said, EC Comics inspired Tales from the Crypt kind of horror comedy, but there's this underlying message about the way that we dehumanize and commodify these women, and I think it's true especially of scream queens, but just actors in general, or celebrities, or notable people. Is that something that you, as someone who puts yourself out there and has a fandom, has experienced or resonate with?
A little bit. Like when I read the script, I could tell that we were like looking at Jasmine, who's done a lot of movies, and trying to make it like she was this awful person to have to work with and be around. But in reality, obviously, she's very fun and cheerful and funny. Like when you guys were mentioning the thing with the hand, I literally just kept laughing because I was like crying while she was filming that scene, because the way she played it through a few times just was so comical. It was great. But I have had experiences where I've been on set with people that I don't work with frequently. And it's so weird because like I'm from Nebraska. I have lived in a lot of other places, and I used to work a lot in California, but I'm just like a Nebraska girl. So I don't have any crazy expectations when I go to set. But I once was on a set and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we don't have any like party stuff." And I was like, "What?" They're like, "We don't have any alcohol." And I was like, okay. Like they expected me to be like, "Oh, I need a drink," or "I need this." And I was just like, yeah, that's not me at all. I'm just here to have fun and work. I'm not here to like party or something. But like, I think sometimes people do get like a strange view that there's maybe a persona involved with some of these actresses. But I've never actually had that experience or met anyone where I was like, "Oh wow, I don't want to work with them anymore." It's always actually been quite the opposite and really fun.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. Did you have any other thoughts about that, Nicole, as an actress? Did that resonate for you at all?
I guess hearing what like other people have talked about, I know I'm a little younger. I'm still kind of, not to say that you're all old, but
kind of sounds like
I'm
what
pretty
you're
old.
saying.
It's fine.
Welcome to middle life.
Old bastards.
what I think is like I have not been doing this as long as you guys. And so what kind of resonated for me is as an actor or a filmmaker, your career kind of coming in waves. I had a couple of really solid years where I was doing projects back to back. And now I am not really working the last year or so. I haven't really worked on much. And so there's that feeling of like, I'm not succeeding now because I'm not working on something. And that is like totally not the case. So yeah, I kind of resonate with that feeling of not feeling successful anymore.
Ugh, yeah. I mean, I think that's something like whether people say it or not, and no matter what you do, that is, I mean, I know I personally I can resonate with what you're saying. But I will say doing something like this where you kind of create your own project I mean, I always feel very empowered and impressed by people who can do that. So keep going, I guess, is my unsolicited advice. I want to touch one more thing about the story, and this is more of a larger thing about these films. Is there's so much meta humor in this, and so many references. Whether it's the montages we have of Jasmine dying gruesomely over and over and over again, or I should have actually introduced you as Josh, your full name. Can we get your full Wexel man?
If his wife can even call him.
Oh yeah, Josh Wexel, man.
Thank you very much. But there's Orlok being in the background, all of the different little pieces of the lore and the world building. Can you guys talk a little bit about, is that meant to, beyond just sort of being fun Easter eggs for fans who have watched a lot of the films, is there a larger kind of idea around creating sort of a world or a universe or interconnected stories?
Yes. The short answer is yes. All of the Dead Lantern films and everything, they're all connected. Every single one of them is connected in some way. At one point, I had back when we had our website, I had a whole thing showing all the connections of all the different films and where they are in a timeline and things like that. And so even going back to the very first films we ever did, I had always had this concept. I liked interconnected universes, and I was a big fan of Galilee by Clive Barker when I was growing up, and a lot of Stephen King. Obviously, my middle name is Stephen because my mom loves Stephen King, and so she sort of raised me on his stuff, and all of his stories take place in the same universe and characters will cross over and things of that nature. So I was always really influenced by that stuff. In terms of collector's edition in particular, this was kind of like, we mentioned Tingles Down Your Spine, right? And so that was another anthology that kind of fell apart for various reasons a few years back when COVID was really hitting. And, I was like, I'm never going to end up making that movie. But I was like, when I wrote the script, there was originally no idea to have a genie involved. But I was like, oh man, I love working with Jenny. Jenny's awesome. And she's always interested and down to like work on a project. And I was like, I could probably like fit this character in here. And I was like, I can create sort of like this genie character and, bring another friend in, and make it kind of all like this sort of meta humor, right? Like give people a little taste of something they'll probably never end up seeing down the line. So she makes a joke about tingles down your spine, and she is a genie, and that's sort of like the horror host setting everything up. And so I would sort of pick and pull different things. Heather, I think I probably told you, bring Orlok, bring all that stuff so we can cut away. So like the collectibles that are there, it's like Tony's character is actually collecting all of the Dead Lantern stuff. He's got the videos. For movies, I have an idea for Pigface versus Isabel. And so Josh has always, got on my ass about telling him that story, which I still haven't. But I was like, well, let's put Pigface versus Isabel in there as one of the videos. And we had Heather make up all these cool, crazy VHS props and stuff like that. And so it was kind of like just kind of a little shout outs to stuff that we've always thought about doing, but may never end up doing, but we can at least touch on them lightly here and there with this kind of like this comedic storyline.
Got it. I mean, I think it does sort of lend itself to the follow-up question that I think people watching it who have watched these other films will have is, are you hinting that we will get to see a Pigface versus Isabel, or we will get a return of that?
Well, there's one person on the who spot. Really wants it. Josh, I don't know. Are we ever going to get Pigface versus Isabel?
I've moved on, Matt. It's fine. We don't need to no need to go backwards.
I'll work
I'll
on
just,
this. I will
I'll
make
just sit
sure
here
that
and
this happens.
I'll just sit here in my old age and wonder what might have
The
been.
problem is
No
he
big
shoots
deal.
Pigface outdoors in the summer in Nebraska heat with all the ticks, Rachel, and so that's really the
You
problem.
love ticks.
That's really the
Yeah.
problem. I don't
Mhm.
want to be out. And DJ can
I-
can speak to the fact of being outside on even during this scene,
Yeah, hell
even during
no.
this shoot on that opening
Um,
sequence, or that you see in the film outside. Dear God,
Yeah.
the story.
I mean,
That's actually a
Yeah.
regret
I've-
of mine is that whole shoot. Like I forgot to bring ND filters, and I forgot how bright and horrible it is in Nebraska in the summer. So I wanted a shallow depth of field shot for Jasmine on the driveway, but we couldn't get it because it was just so freaking bright. We were all burning outside and sweating, and the cameras were even shutting down.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was so hot. So
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick.
Yeah, and I was
tell you a
wearing my
quick
fur
story.
coat.
Tell you a quick story, Rachel, about that. The opening scene in the film. Plug, go watch it on Outpost Unknown. You can check out Collector's Edition. It is Jasmine and Nicole outside. And I'm going to try to name everything that went wrong during the making of that scene. So, yes, cameras overheating. It was like 95 degrees outside, which was terrible. Every time we would try to film, either a plane would fly over, somebody started mowing his yard right next. And of course, we're all on schedules, right? Like we are trying to stay on schedule. And I think I had a bet with Steve. Steve was like, "You're never going to stay on schedule. No film we ever make stays on schedule." And I was like, "I don't lose bets when I agree to them." I'm like, "We're staying on schedule." But yeah, that went wrong. We had didn't we have some dude like show up and deliver packages next door?
there
Yeah.
were kids selling candy. They were going door to door, like selling candy, trying to hustle us for some like chocolate bar money.
You see at the end in the end credits, there's a little bit of this stuff, but like there's that bird that kept squawking, and it was
Yeah, it was like a turtle dove making noise.
Oh, yeah.
There were cars that kept like
Cars.
doing laps.
Yes.
They like kept driving past us
Oh,
on the street, so you could
constantly.
see it.
Motorcycle.
Cars going behind us, like,
Yeah,
the noise, and then also the visual.
yeah, and then it was clouds that would constantly go over front and back of the
Mhm.
sun, which sucked. And then you guys don't even know this, but in post production, so it was so bright, we were just using a little monitor on the camera, right? And so when I was filming Jenny, could not even tell she was completely out of focus. And so when I got into the editing room and I started editing, I was like, "What the hell are we gonna do? She's out of focus." And there was a moment where I was like, "Are we gonna have to cut all of Jenny's shit out of here?" Because we just couldn't see it on the monitor; it was out of focus. And then DJ worked his magic and used whatever he does, whatever sorcery he can do, and
AI.
put her in focus in post production, which saved it. And nobody has been able to tell. But it was just like one thing after another, and it took forever. And then Jasmine was not happy when, like, you got to throw that stuff in your face, the drink.
Yeah.
You talk
Yeah,
about
I-
that, Joe.
I
Like
do love.
the old coffee and milk. in
Yeah,
the
there
fridge.
was
Actually, it wasn't
It-
coffee. It was
Oh, you're
milk
right. It
and
was
Dr.
it was
Pepper.
Dr. Pepper and milk.
Yeah.
in the behind the scenes we see kind of a moment like where you're getting in the lead up to getting that thrown in your face, and you take a beat, and there's kind of a pause before you give the go ahead to throw the drink. I'm curious, what is going on in your head? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Talk to me about Jasmine in that moment.
Uh,
I would say one of the troubles with shooting that scene also in general is that Jasmine is so fucking funny. A good chunk of that is me just like trying not to break because she's hilarious. She takes her character so seriously, and there's actually a scene later that we can talk about where I really it was so hard not to break because she was so funny. But I was really trying to like have this like cartoon evil villain moment in my brain. Part of my acting as a whole is I always try to have some sort of inner monologue going as my character. So as I'm listening, I'm also reacting like in my head to everything. And so I was trying to get that, like, I twitchy, like just slowly dissolving into, I really want to throw this coffee in her face, into this fantasy of me actually doing it, and then snap out of it. Okay, nope, not gonna do it.
And how about you, Jasmine? As you know that this is about to happen and you got to kind of like say, okay, go. How were you mentally preparing for a face full of Dr. Pepper and milk?
Well, it wouldn't have been a shoot with Matthew directing it if I wasn't going to either get her or, something was going to be thrown on me. So I already was somewhat prepared for it. I think my biggest thing on what I was thinking about was honestly not getting the drink thrown on me, but how I was going to react, because I wanted it to come across as very obviously like real and not too much of a reaction, but also not too little of a reaction. So I was really just trying to think about like what kind of reaction would I actually have if someone was throwing a hot coffee on me. But I was so done with that for like the opening scene stuff. Like I was in the pink jumpsuit with my like fur coat on in this heat with the sun blazing down on us. Everything was like going wrong with people just, there was like a little kid that was outside playing and the guy mowing, and I'm just like, you can throw the cold coffee on, or like the lukewarm coffee on me. I don't even care at this point. Like, let's just get it over with.
That was the other thing that went wrong during that is because, and Nicole, you can speak to this. I had a message like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. It's like, Nicole, can you record yourself doing a crazy laugh? Because we didn't realize that the boom mic battery died. So we didn't get any of her audio after she threw it, and you get that close up of her crazy face and stuff like that. She had to record her audio after the fact for that. And what's cool is like, that's probably my favorite scene of the entire film, to be completely honest, because everything went so wrong while we were filming that scene. Everything else went smooth, I think. I don't really remember us having any problems in any other scenes except that one. But I feel like that one turned out the best. I think, Jasmine, I think it's such an amazing, people who have watched all your films back in the day here in the local film scene that would be like, oh, it's Jasmine. It's such a great spotlight on your acting ability initially right out the gate, because you're like Nicole said, you're so hilarious in that. I know there's multiple times I start laughing, and I remember Josh is like, you gotta walk away, dude, like get away from it. It's like action to walk away. But just like,
or Jasmine's like, don't look at me, Matthew.
And I start laughing.
You can't make eye contact with me.
I start laughing. And so like it's so you were so good in that, just the different types of interactions you're doing with Nicole, and then sort of when you're cutting in Nicole, the facial reactions and the goofiness, and I had first sort of seen Nicole kind of act on Pigface 2, because I was sort of like behind the scenes documentarian of that film, and that's kind of where we first met and started hanging out. And then I had never seen Nicole kind of act like this before. Like, she was kind of funny in Pigface 2, but not like this. This was like, she turned into a completely different person, totally opposite of what, she'd been planning for Nine Black Roses, for the Ivy Slade character. Nothing. And so I was kind of shocked. I remember editing this thing, and I'm like, there's like a wealth to choose from here. There's so many takes I could have put in there that might have been even funnier than the ones that we got. But it's just kind of interesting how everything went wrong. We were all so frustrated with that scene and just wanted to get it over with, that it ultimately turned out great. And that sort of whip pan over to Jenny, and she's there, in her genie costume that she hated, doing like the whole thing. And it's like, it just cut together. I felt so well. That it's probably my favorite part of the whole movie, honestly.
Yeah, I was really surprised when you told me that was sort of the cursed portion of the shoot, because I do think that opening is so strong, even from the opening shot to that we get to know the characters so well immediately in their back and forth. And then I feel like the chemistry is just so good between the two of you. I had assumed you had worked together before, but it sounds like this was actually the first time when you guys got on set that you actually bounced off one another. How do you kind of create that chemistry, or can you? Is it just something that comes naturally?
I think it helped that we'd already kind of been working together so much doing Nine Black Roses before that. So we'd probably been like in a way working together for about a year. But that first day on set, I think that was the first time I was ever in person with Jasmine, because everything else had been like on screen. But I think all of that on screen work like really helped prepare us to have that in person chemistry acting together.
I love it.
I definitely agree with that, because when we were working on Nine Black Roses together, we would like I said, we did a lot. Like we spent so much time doing scenes, like rewriting scenes, adding dialogue. And so I was, for the most part, reading the opposite of Nicole for that script. And so I think we both we knew the style that we had a little bit. We've also, both of us really like to ad lib and like put more things into the script than just, Matthew's like one-liners or whatever, make them better, basically, is what
which I encourage.
We like to do. So it was nice. So it was nice so that we kind of knew, our personalities and the way that we were going to bring those lines to one another.
I think Jasmine and I both have that like get down to business type of attitude towards, approaching, working on set. I think that hard work really helped us. I think it's also kind of like that psychological nature versus nurture debate, where I have been in a situation where I was playing a romantic lead across from someone and I did not meet them until our first scene together. And lucky for that director, we had immediate on-screen chemistry, but that doesn't happen every single time. Sometimes it does just kind of happen naturally like that. And sometimes you really have to like nurture that connection between people to make the on-screen chemistry read.
I love that. I mean, I do kind of sense that being on one of these sets in these projects is a lot of fun. It feels very collaborative. It feels, I mean, obviously it's an edited version of the behind the scenes, but there's so much laughter. I'm curious for you, Matthew, as the director. I know you've been kind of self-effacing about in terms of your role, but you do kind of have to set the tone for what a set is like. So I'm curious for you, how do you approach that, and how does that work in terms of the way that you interact with your actors?
It's a great question, Rachel. It's like you're a professional or something. I think that, I always say like, whenever like there's a first script read through or something, after I've cast everybody and whatnot, and we all sort of get together, whether it's virtual now or used to be back in the day, like, hey, we'll rent out a room in a hotel and we'll just, all get together and read through the script in person. I always basically kind of want to set the tone as, look, what I have written or what maybe other people have written that we're sort of adapting, it can be better, right? So everybody who works on a movie should have investment in whatever they're doing. So whether it's the sound person with the boom, whether it is the actor with the dialogue, never stifle creativity. You bring everybody onto a movie set. It's a collaborative effort, right? It's not just DJ and I, and we do everything. We can make any of this stuff if it was not for everybody else. But everybody on this call that everyone's looking at right now, they're all super creative and talented people. And so as a director, I feel it's irresponsible to sort of not foster an environment where, Jasmine could say, this line dialogue kind of sucks. Can I say this instead? And I'll be like, yeah, fine. Let's do it. That's actually funnier than what I wrote. I hate being on movie sets, and I'm sure DJ can speak to this. We've been on plenty in the past where it's just so oppressively pressure filled where no one has a good time. If the cast and crew are not having a good time making the movie, you're not going to get a good movie, because just natural human nature, if you're pissed off and you're tired or, irritated, that's going to come through in whatever role you're doing, whether it's acting, whether it's, maybe I'm not paying as attention with the boom mic as I should, Josh, or something of that nature, right? I'm just kidding. I love Josh. So you want to make sure that the environment is conducive to everybody wants to have fun. Everybody's having fun. I know multiple times, because you're still going to get frustrated on a movie set, right? Like that opening sequence outside, it gets frustrated. And I remember Nicole, I think she's like, "We're here to have fun, everybody. Remember, fun. So it's like when people start getting frustrated, like, you're right. Don't take it too seriously. Let's have some fun here. That was the point of making this particular short film. So yeah, I just want to have fun. I want people laughing. But I also want to make something good, right? And so, if there are actors, and we didn't have any issues with that on this set, but on previous sets there might have been actors who aren't quite, either comfortable or sort of getting it. That's where I would need to step in at that point and then try to steer them. But for the most part, I try casting people who are already talented. There's a very famous quote by Quentin Tarantino. He's like, a director's role is to hire good people and then just tell them what to do. He's like, it's not your job to understand how to do all the post-production. It's not your job to understand how to be a great actor. It's not your job to understand how to be a great writer. Your job as a director is to bring all of the talented people together and make sure you can communicate to them what needs to be done, so all these talented people can make a great movie. And hopefully when people watch this, they think that we succeeded in that. I like the film quite a bit. So, I think everybody here did a fantastic job, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's amazing. I'm curious for each of you. I want to turn it over to everybody else to talk about how you experienced the set. Do you have, when you look back at this time, is there a specific favorite memory or moment that you recall fondly or that makes you laugh? Let's start with Heather. Do you have a moment like that?
Oh gosh, pretty much like just being on set in general with everybody. I always say, I'm an only child, so my film community is my family. So I just kind of keep on building that tribe. And so for me, it's just seeing everybody, especially if you haven't seen them for a while, and just giving everybody a big hug. And it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you forever, or I haven't killed you on screen forever, or whatever, So it's hard for me to pinpoint a specific moment and say, oh yeah, that was my favorite thing. But a lot of it is the little conversations that you have just off to the side that have nothing to do with doing filming. You're just chilling, waiting for the next scene, and you're having a little conversation, or you're riffing about whatever movie references that you have or movie ideas. And so yeah, it's just that community is the most important part for me.
I love that. How about you, Will? We haven't heard from you in a minute. Do you have a favorite moment as the plucker or just, on set that day?
Well, I came in the clutch because I had to bring my ring light last minute. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Right.
That ring light and then DJ had to kind of tell me what color to use because I had like 3 different settings on it. And I think when I finally showed up, because I wasn't there for the majority of the shoot, but I think the funniest thing that happened was when I did have to film plucking the eye out of her face.
That's love.
The gloves that I had were a little bit bigger than, like, when my fingers went into the gloves, the end tips of those fingers, they were too long. But I couldn't feel if I was digging into her actual eye or not.
Oh no.
When we first started doing it, I was in there and I'm like trying to hold the eyeball but also make it look like I was close enough, and she is like, stop it, you're digging into my eye.
He's also a method actor, so he's not gonna he's gonna actually like do it, and I'm like, you freaking eye socket.
Yeah, so I paid for that later.
Jasmine, make the sacrifice for the art.
Yeah. But that was pretty funny. But then, kind of to Heather's point too, just when I showed up, and I haven't told any of these guys this, but this was one of the rare sets that I had walked on with Dead Lantern, where everybody seemed to be in their proper place and was doing the best job that was for them. And it just felt very genuine, and like everybody was in a good mood for the most part and was creating something that they really cared about. So good job, everybody.
Oh, I love that. I love that. All right. Well, let's keep the love going. DJ, favorite memory from the shoot?
Man, watching that cheese go down was probably that was actual almost vomit coming back up.
That's your favorite part? Watching her gag on the cheese?
Like, I saw that cheese come out and it turned my stomach. Like, it just reminded
I
me
had to
of
eat it.
yeah, it reminded me of like going to the lunchroom and just getting the worst meal from your school cafeteria, and then it was out for a while, so it had gotten kind of warm, and it sort of like gelled out a little bit, and then instead of just taking a bite of it, she shoved the entire thing into her mouth, and then you could watch. We're waiting, and you can almost see her like gag and throw up reflex starting to actuate. And like Matt waits for it, and then he says, "Cut." And she's like, "Oh!" Spits it all out. There's a lot of moments like that on Dead Lantern Productions that they're priceless, and being part of that is what's the joy of filmmaking. So, is that my favorite? I don't know. There's probably like 20 other moments like that where it was just a weird thing, and everybody stops and laughs. And those are the moments. That's what doing this stuff is all about. I don't do it because I'm rich or get paid a bunch of money. I do it because I get to hang out and do something really weird that I'd otherwise not have access to or be able to dink around with. So it's always enjoyable with you guys.
I love it. All right. Well, Nicole, I think you have to go next.
Yeah.
Obviously, number one is the cheese, but what else is your favorite memory?
My favorite? No. I'm a self-diagnosed lactose intolerant. I know that was not going to agree with me. So watching it in the film and seeing like some of the clips, it feels like such a short time that cheese is actually in my mouth. But when it was happening, it felt like eons. I really was like trying to hold back that gag reflex and just waiting for Matthew to call cut so I can spit it into the hidden trash can to the right of me. And I think I told Matthew, I was like, "You get 2 takes."
No,
You
initially said one. You initially said 1 take, and then I was like, "But I also gotta get the close up too."
And you talked me into
and
2.
then you're like, "Okay, 2."
Yes, okay, that is correct. You get 1 take, but I give you 2. Of me shoving that nasty cheese in my mouth. My favorite scene or moment was, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, is when I'm trying to convince Jasmine to go down into the basement, and her line of like, "If this gets out, this could destroy my career. You don't understand." She's so genuine in her character in that moment. That was the hardest scene for me. It was like to not break because she was just so funny. And because she took that line so seriously, I think that's what makes it like come off as oh my god, like, dude. But I thought that was like the funniest moment on set for me.
I love it. That whole sequence is so funny. I'm going to just point out my favorite sort of like, it's the most subtle moment, Jasmine. But when you put on the porno and you're like, and there's a moment where you're like, yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I was like,
Love the look on her face, like
Those young and flexible ones.
well, speaking of being young and flexible, do you have a favorite moment?
Yes. Gosh, I mean, all of it was so fun, but my most favorite moment was, and it's a very short scene. So Matthew, Josh, and I went to my apartment to film the shower scene. And it was the funniest thing I have ever, like, I don't think I have laughed that hard, like, I mean, inconsistently for so long. Like, we were just crying, laughing, like, after every scene, because we just had different, like Josh with the knife, like trying to get me in frame.
I was just trying
and
not
then
to look
they
at
also-
Jasmine, and I'm just like, I can't get her framed properly, and I just keep laughing, so it's jiggling around. It was just, it's crazy.
And I was covered, but it was just so funny because they also didn't know. Like, I think the first time I did the like, they didn't know what I was gonna do, to be honest. Like, when they opened up the shower curtain, I had different things that I was just spewing out. So like, when I had my soap and I was just like, like, want to suck me up, like, I had no idea I was gonna do that. It just was visibly uncomfortable, but it was so.
And I don't think that was in the script at all. I don't know if that was in the script or whatever.
No, none of.
But I put it in because
Yeah.
that was like, that's so funny, and I was trying to figure out how can I edit this quickly so it still plays when Tony's giving the voiceover. It was so
And
funny.
I felt really bad for Josh too, because you could tell Josh was really uncomfortable, and he was just trying to like get through it. And Matthew's like, "Okay, Josh, like put your knife like over here, kind of like do this."
Take after take after take.
Yes. And we just all were like, I mean, it just was the funniest. It was the funniest thing I've ever done, to be honest.
Oh
was
my
great.
God, that's so funny. Josh, do you remember that moment fondly, or do you have a different favorite moment? Let's talk about it.
I didn't know how to hold that goddamn knife. I was like, how do I hold this? I don't know. I've never done this before. No, I have a couple of moments that weekend. It was a lot of fun. So I didn't get an opportunity ever to be on a Dead Lantern set. It was my goal when I met those guys originally a billion years ago. I was like, I'm going to get on one of their sets because these guys are just awesome people, and I want to work with these people. And so it was nice to finally get on that set and stand back as an outsider, kind of, and watch Heather and Jasmine and DJ and Matt kind of come back together, because it had been a while for them since they had shot anything, and just watching how they interact with each other on set, their inside jokes, what they laugh about, just kind of how they work together. It was a lot of fun just watching the four of them just kind of bring it back around. So that was a really nice moment for me. Favorite acting moments for me were Jasmine breaking the fourth wall in the blender scene, and Jasmine breaking the fourth wall when she was like talking about how she has to be professional and memorize dialogue. I laughed.
That's the thing.
Yeah, what's the background with that?
I laughed so hard watching the short at those two. Even when I was on set, I was like, oh. I was like, it was so funny just to watch her deadpan the camera. And the blender scene where Matt was just like, just do whatever and just letting her go. Those are things that I laughed so hard about. And then just the last thing, Nicole got to play this mousy character at the beginning of the film. And it was when we got to her turn. I had never gotten to see her do those, because she was in my movie and she didn't get to do those things. It was just, she had to deal with my dialogue. But when she got to her turn and she got to deliver that monologue at the end, I just got to sit back. I was sitting back by the bar and just getting to watch. And I was like, God damn, like she was really, really good. That turn was like one of my favorite moments in this movie. So those kind of bits were just like, again, me being an outsider and just kind of sitting back and getting to watch were things that I really enjoyed being on set for. So
I love that. I love that. Okay. I want to hear, Jenny, I want to hear yours, but really quickly, can we elaborate on the fourth wall breaking? Matthew sounded like you had a little story about Jasmine's dialogue memory.
Yeah, so I've known Jasmine since 2012, I think. We had that when you got cast in The Eyes of Isabel, and I think the first time we actually met each other was at that like Village Inn or whatever on 27th and Cornhusker in Lincoln. We were all sitting around. And the thing I remember about Jasmine is I was sitting like this, and Jasmine's like, "You got a problem with me or something?" That's an aggressive stance. I'm like, what? I digress. I won't say it's the funny thing about Jasmine, but what she knows for she does not memorize the scripts. She shows up and she admits it. She just shows up and says whatever she wants, and I'll be like, Jasmine, that's not the line of dialogue. And like, doesn't matter. I don't memorize anything. So that was part of the in joke. There is like, got to be taken seriously because I have to. I have to do this. So, Jasmine,
But they did not know that I was going to do that. He
Yeah.
did not know that I was going to do that, and I wanted him to not know that I was going to do it because that is him and I's like back and forth on me not memorizing lines, and him getting upset with me about it.
Yeah. Interesting. Matthew, is that a dynamic you find with all of your friends, that there's that one thing that you always give them shit about forever?
yes.
Because for me, it's
Yeah.
timeliness. All right, Ginny, close us out with your favorite memory. I want to know when you look back on this production, is there a funny moment? Is there like a moment that like touched your heart that really you loved about this time?
Well, I was only there for a few hours for one of the days, so I'm not sure what other stuff was going on, but I still just have to go back to Jasmine in the blender and the hand scene because there's so much going on, and it's such a violent, painful thing. And she's like went through a couple different versions, and one of them was like "owie," like or just something like really like downplayed, and I just laughed so hard. I actually had to go outside and drink water and use my inhaler because I couldn't stop laughing. And she's just downplaying it. It's like so bad, and she's like, "Oh no!" Like, and so it was just so funny. So yeah, it was just really fun.
Yeah, I realized I didn't ask you, Matthew. You've heard a lot of great moments from your set. Is there one that you particularly love?
No, but I'm going to take this time real quick to
Wow.
mention. No, well, don't act like that. I'm going to take this time here to
Wow.
to mention
You all heard
to
that,
mention
right?
everybody on the call because the thing is, like, DJ kind of touched on this earlier when he was talking about, you know, you do it for these experiences and these moments and stuff, but you really do it for like the friendship, right? I've met so many people. Like everybody here is a dear friend of mine. I love everybody on this call. Why? Because we've all met each other at some point on a film in the past, right? And that's the only way we ever became friends, was on another film set somewhere else down the line. Nicole, you're fucking great in this role. Don't give up. You're a fantastic actress. I know, of course, Nine Black Roses for now has kind of fallen to the wayside, but you know, when you mentioned earlier, it's like, you know, I feel like I'm failing because I'm not in stuff. Don't ever feel that way, because you're a super talented person. You have it in you. Everybody believes in you, and you can definitely make it happen. Jasmine, I am so like, you have no idea how much it affected me when you said you wanted to do the film, because you have always been super talented. Always, ever since I've known you. And it really, really disappointed me, you know, for reasons why you initially retired in the first place. I completely understand it, but you always had so much talent there. And it was such a thrill for you to not only take that leap and come back and put yourself out there for someone who hasn't acted in a decade, just about. And you fucking knocked it out of the park. You're hilarious in this. And I hope you're very, very proud of the work that you did in this. And I hope you continue to do stuff going forward, for sure. Will, I love you. Of course, you weren't there like a ton, but every time you're on set, it's such a joy. You laugh. You basically, well, you kind of hurt Jasmine sometimes, but it's all in good fun, right? It's for the shot. It's for the shot. But you're such a good mind. Like you come up with great ideas. You're a pleasant person to be around, and sometimes when you're on a film set, you need to have pleasant people to be around, because if you're around people who are unpleasant, it ruins the entire thing. So I value the limited time that you were on set, and thank you for that light. That was very, very important. Josh, you always, how do I want to put this? You always feel like down on yourself, but you're a super, super talented person. And again, this film would not have happened had you not told me at Firehouse Subs, why don't we do something? get off your ass. Stop moaning and you'd be depressed about what went wrong with 9 Black Roses, and let's just make something. So I give all the credit for this even being in existence to you in Firehouse Subs. So thank you for pushing me to that and helping get all this together and helping with the script and everything. Heather, you know what I think about you. You always come through. I know you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and you can be hard on yourself on set, but all of your effects always turn out awesome. We no matter how much pressure is on you, we are always able to get what we need for it. You are super, super talented. It's been a wonderful watching you grow from all the way back when I said, hey, guess what? You're now the effects artist on The Eyes of Isabel. Show up, do whatever you can to where you are now. It's quite incredible. Keep doing what you're doing. It's been fantastic. Jenny, you're always welcome on one of my sets. Amazing personality to be around. You're so gung-ho about doing stuff. You love making movies, which I think is one of the greatest traits that you have. It's always fun to have you on set. And you gave Rawiyah her personality and her charm. And maybe someday Rawiyah will come back. Who knows? And of course,
if she does, she better change clothes.
Yeah. Before I get to
I thought Josh was going to be the next genie.
Oh yeah, Josh can't be the next genie. That's true. All right.
Yeah.
Before I get to DJ,
Can we have him topless?
before I get to DJ, I just want to shout out once more to Tony. Thank you, Tony. Tony's not an actor. He's gets very, very nervous when he acts and stuff like that, but he did a fantastic job. So thank you so much, Tony, for letting us use your place and providing funding for the effects and stuff on short notice. And thank you once again for doing such a great job. I think your chemistry with Jasmine is perfect. I love Jasmine's look on her face when you put your arm around her. She's like, oh, you're like, fantastic. So thank you so much, Tony, for that. Max. I want Max, if you're watching this, thank you so much for the high-spirited debates that occurred on set, as well as doing all the documentary stuff. Almost all of that stuff in the documentary you can watch on Outpost on Noon was shot by Max. So thank you for that. Jared, who did the score for this. Jared, I wish he could have been on today. He always does fantastic work for us, and I put Jared through hell. DJ can probably attest to this. We're like, Jared, I'm like a stickler for music like I am a stickler for fashion. Like, I don't know I want it until I hear it. And it's like, I don't like it. Do it again. And Jared's always sort of manipulating and tweaking and trying to get things to my satisfaction, which I greatly, greatly appreciate. And he did another fantastic job on the score on this. I think it adds a lot to the performances, especially Nicole's heel turn where the music sort of really switches and stuff like that and really gives it that ominous. Really, really worked. Thank you so much, Jared. And then of course DJ. Again, these films 90% are him, with all of his post-production stuff and basically me sitting there. Rachel, you know me in technology, I can't operate it, I can't figure it out, I can't do any of it. DJ's got one of those minds where he can just, what do you want? You want all this weird shit to glow? Okay, let me take 10 minutes and figure out how to do it and can make it happen, which is not something I can do. So yeah, these films would not exist without him as well. So circling back around, I'm just a guy that brings talented people together and lets them go on their way. And that's kind of how Collector's Edition came about. So thank you to everybody. Greatly appreciate it.
That is pretty much a great place to end this, except for I do have one question. I want to know about the future. My last question is for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. As longtime fans of the Dead Lantern Dream Thief productions probably want to know, there is some unfinished business out there. We've alluded to things. We've introduced a new genie. I'm curious. Is this the beginning? Is the Collector's Edition the beginning of the long, maybe resurrected trilogy, the Spine trilogy?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking whoever's ready to tell the truth.
Tingles down your spine. Okay, I'll be honest. Tingles down your spine. No, that production would be way too big. how it is. Way too large, and not something that could be shown on YouTube for sure. So for Tingles Down Your Spine, no. In terms of things going forward, we might have some ideas. If Jenny wants to come back as Rowea, possibly in a different costume because she hated the one she was in.
Sorry, Jenny.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about.
Can we
that
make a
timeline.
video burning it?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
But yeah, I mean, we don't have any solid plans as of yet, but you never know. Josh and I retire all the time, and it never sticks. So we've always got ideas. We're throwing out some potential things, but we'll see. I don't know. Does the cast and crew
Well,
want more? I
hopefully-
mean, ask them. If they say no, we'll
Yes.
What do you guys say? You want to do this again at the end, the wrap of another short?
Yeah.
With this group?
I will always be there for you.
appreciate it.
All right, Jasmine's nodding her head.
Yeah,
This feels
definitely.
like she is retired from
That's
retirement,
lucky.
which I'm excited to see because I want to see what
I
color jumpsuit she's
know.
going to wear next.
Yeah.
No, we should just do different colored jumpsuits.
Till Matt likes it.
I'll never like
Purple.
it.
What's his
Spoiler.
favorite color?
I do
Like the
purple.
Cher show.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll just call it the jumpsuit anthology or something like that.
I would watch.
I'd act in it. So.
Jumpsuit Slayer. I like that. The jumpsuit Slayer.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all so much for being so generous with your time and sharing these stories. I had so much fun watching the film. I'm excited to see what maybe it will turn into down the road because I feel like there's such a collective energy and like a creative synergy that I can sense in this group that I suspect we'll be doing, like I said, doing this again in the not too distant future. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
If the world's still here.
All right. Well, don't ruin it. We were having a kumbaya moment. Jesus Christ. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Rachel.
Bye.